Hello everyone, welcome to Aucademy. I'm your host for today, Katie Monday. And I'm talking to the fabulous Callum and Jenny Loughran.
Loughran.
Oh, I should have asked before we did
All
this.
right, don't
I
worry.
was going to get it wrong. And
worry.
they're going to be talking to us about their newest massive undertaking, fantastic project called Autistic Revolution, which is going to be 100% autistic-led online magazine. Before we get started, if we do a physical description of ourselves and also tell people what our dedicated interests are, which you might call special interests, you might not. Perhaps I should start with that. So I am a large white person. You can only see me from the kind of shoulders up today. I've got my usual kind of zip up green hoodie, which is not zipped up. I've got my brown and orange glasses. I've got a stud in each ear, which is silver and purple. Eyebrow bar in my left eyebrow. And I'm sitting in front of kind of I don't know what you'd call that, like velvet effect headboard, which is silver. And you can see a little bit of my purple wall above that. And I'm Katie Monday, and I use they, them pronouns. And some people might know me as autistic and living the dream, and I do everything. Callum, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm Callum Brazzo, whichever, Brazzo, doesn't matter. My name's Callum. And I am a white man. I use he, him pronouns. I'm wearing a white t-shirt with an infinity symbol, that is red, with two yin yangs inside it, and the words autistically empowered. Autistically is black with white inside the font, and empowered is gold, although I think the technical term is mustard. But I am sat in front of a painting which is difficult to describe because it's just lots of colours. But there's a magnolia wall that's featured as well. I'm wearing glasses. I am quite hairy around the beard, and a very increasingly receding hairline.
And what would you say that your kind of like specialised interests are, or your main kind of interests in life?
Difficult one, but I think my dedicated interests would be parkour, painting, and people. All the P's.
Ooh,
including potatoes, but we'll talk about that later, I'm sure.
that's nice. It's getting in there early. That's nice. And Jenny.
So I'll try and keep this short. So I am Jenny Loughran. I am a white woman, white female. Pronouns are she, her. I have short brown hair on the sides and the back with lots of curls on the front. They're natural curls and they just sit there and I don't have to do anything with them, and that's how I like it.
Yes.
Very, very low maintenance. I have quite a bright pink jumper on with long sleeves. I did want to wear a brown polo neck. Sometimes it's great for covering my face and hiding, but it's on the radiator and it's damp, so unfortunately couldn't wear that. I have some red earphones in to help with the audio. I'm sitting on a green chair and I'm sitting in front of my bedroom wall with a woodland theme on this side and white wardrobes on this side. But can you see that when I do that?
Yeah,
And a green wall behind me. I love green and I love trees and I love woods. So one of my special interests is or dedicated interest is nature. I love being around nature. It just fills me with joy and helps me respoon. I also love anything to do with autistic identity and neurodivergent affirming language. Love talking about that. Also, both of my children are my dedicated interests as well. And I identify as an autistic polyenic person, full stop.
full stop. There it is. Yeah. So I'll go back to you, Jenny, if that's all right. When did you actually find out that you were autistic?
Okay, so my youngest child is now 15. And the last 3 years we have been really focusing on unlearning how to be neurotypical and learning how to be our autistic authentic selves. So when he left primary mainstream education, which was 3 years ago, he left a very traumatized person, very traumatized, PTSD, through not really having the opportunity to understand his own neurotype and understand his own self. He had no sense of self. And so I've done a lot of work around rebuilding him and actually helping him to understand himself as a proud autistic person. Through that was a massive magnifying glass on me. And so the last couple of years definitely has raised a lot of questions in terms of my own self. And I've been going through assessment now for what seems ages and ages and ages. I started it 2 years ago. It's still very early on in the process. And I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait for that official diagnosis. I just, I'm empowering my own child to feel empowered and to feel invalidated. But actually, he needs to see what that looks like. I need to help him. So I am proudly self-identifying. I'm not waiting any longer. And so, with the answer to that question, the last couple of years, I suppose the last year I've publicly identified as an autistic person. It's been a process because I had that, oh no, well, what if I publicly identify? People are going to judge me and they are going to say, well, why are you saying that now? Why do you feel that you need to say that now? And in fact, that was one of the first questions that one of the professionals asked me over the phone when I was very brave and picked up the phone and had that initial first conversation, which, by the way, was terrifying.
Mm.
Putting myself out there, and that was one of the first questions that they asked me. Why is it that you feel that you need to know? And it wasn't done in a way that was, oh, that's really interesting, you know. Why do you feel that you need to know? It was, why do you feel that you need to know? You know, there's that tone, which I found very triggering. The whole process is very triggering, actually, in terms of the language and the questions that is asked. That is there on the paperwork. It's very triggering, full of pathologizing language, and yeah. So the last couple of years has made me question, and the last year I've publicly identified as autistic and polyenic person, and I'm proud to say that. And yeah, it's I continue to evolve and change and learn new things about myself all the time. So I hope I've answered that question.
Absolutely, yeah,
without
perfectly.
going on.
Yeah, no, perfectly. And I'm sure that we're going to pick apart things, especially about pathologizing language, and then we're going to absolutely have a chat about that at some point today. Callum, when did you first find out that you were autistic?
So, again, officially, 21. I recently celebrated, and I mean celebrated my 10-year, as I call it, autoversary, because I'm 31 now. So that was really, really cool for me. A lot of emotions, and just without certain people and places and the outlet of poetry, I wouldn't be where I am now, in terms of expressing my autistic identity and now other people's experiences as best I can to kind of shine a light on other people as well through poetry, and try to act as that bridge. But it came very much from a place of I want to say trauma, just because I was depressed at the time, and I just remember at primary school, I was content being by myself. I've said this multiple times, but this is my story in a nutshell. At primary school, I was fine being by myself, but at secondary school, there was this disconnect, and but yet this desire to connect inside my mind, and that was where I started thinking, why am I thinking like that, and why am I not caring about the latest relationship in the school, or the typical stuff at the time. So although officially it was 21, I think it goes beyond that time period.
Yeah, sure. I think there's possibly a part of us that has always known there was something different. And that comes from mostly quite awful places for a lot of us, bullying and etc. So funnily, my story is quite similar to Jenny's, but not with my own child, but with the young people I work with. I've been youth worker for 10 years now, and most of the young people I work with are autistic and ADHD, and I'm just like, get on really well with this bunch of children, much better than I've ever got on with anyone else ever in my life. It's probably something going on there. So yeah, I went for diagnosis. I got that in my late 20s. So so quite similar stories.
Can I just say
how?
Sorry.
No, go on, Jenny.
Can I just say though, when you find your, I suppose, crowd, it's like a little bit of an awakening. So when I interact with other neurodivergent people, it's like a huge surge of adrenaline, because I think, wow, I don't have to work so hard to be understood. I can save all of my energy, and I can just be myself. and it's just so easy. It's just so easy. And then it makes me reflect on actually how hard I've been trying to get on with other neurotypical people. And I was spending all of my time trying to fit into what they needed. So me trying to present myself a certain way was only benefiting them and not actually benefiting me. And then when you find a community and this beautiful neurodivergent community that is online, it's like, wow, and everything starts to make sense.
Absolutely. And you and Callum actually aren't too far away from each other geographically either, are you? So how did you meet? How did you find each other before you started to think, oh, let's make a magazine together? Let's, do Autistic Revolution.
You go, Callum.
I was sending it to you, but because it's really you that really put us together in a way, because Jenny had put a post out, and it's fun. So through a mutual friend, which I don't think we've really spoken about. I'm not going to mention their name because I haven't cleared it with them to mention their name, but it was through a mutual friend sharing Jenny's post that I even saw Jenny's post. But it was about the idea of this magazine, and I thought, oh, and my friend always watches out for me in this regard and puts things in my path and says, oh, maybe this might be your thing. Because we have a bond as well through certain things, so we always look out for each other. But it was this person that brought the attention to the post, and I just I think I sent an email and just thought, because I think I'd run, as I have mentioned before, I think it was before we were live actually, but my Autistic Links Facebook page came out of the newspaper column that I was running for 3 years, and even that story was just, is there room for an autistic author? I literally sent that kind of email, like, is there room for this? Like, could we do this? And they just said to me, as long as you can keep it running, let's have a go. And that was like 3 years ago. But all that, I think, led to this point, because by the time I'd met Jenny online at this time, that had closed down, if I'm not mistaken. And this was almost like a different kind of awakening for me. It was, oh, this is now being put into this other journey. Let's see where this goes. And so we had a phone call at one point, and we always talk about ourselves being aliens in that conversation, but it really was because where we're from in Lincolnshire is not autistically culturally developed, I'll say, and I know that's across the board, but certainly in our area, it was very refreshing to have that initial conversation, just to discuss what the magazine could look like, and just talk and just connect.
So fabulous. Jenny, tell us all about the magazine then. Let's go.
Okay, so the inspiration, I need to mention this person because she is the inspiration to everything that I have tried to do over the last couple of years. And Nick Walker is the author, and she is just an absolute inspiration, trailblazer, myth busting. I just think she's amazing, so very talented. And her book, Neuroqueer Heresies, I read that and it just absolutely changed my world. And it was if she kind of deep dived into my brain and she has given me the tools in terms of language. So the ideology fell in line with my ideology and how I want to live as an autistic, authentic person, and how I'm wanting to teach my own son to find out about his autistic culture. But I didn't have the right words. And it's very difficult when you're trying to advocate for yourself and advocate for your family without the right words, because words are powerful, really powerful. They can either empower and raise you up or just tear you down. And that book, definitely, I just felt so empowered and inspired. And so at the time, I was going through some mental health difficulties, which I realise now wasn't anything to do with being autistic. It was everything to do with being outside of being autistic, if that makes sense. And so I decided to empty my head via blogging at first. I thought I need to release some of these thoughts. I need to process all of that information that I kind of processed from the book, make sense of it, and then start writing with this new language. And that's how I started. And then I thought, well, I'm just one autistic person. What would it look like if we as a community could come together and coming from that same place of being autistic is an identity, and it's actually not a condition or a disorder, right? What could we create if the whole community came together and we created something? How powerful would that be? And so, yeah, Nick Walker definitely gave me the nudge that I needed to be able to start thinking very clearly. And just going back to the conversation that Callum and I had over the phone that first time, I don't know anybody in this area that is really aware and understands the difference between the pathology paradigm and the neurodiversity paradigm, and the differences with the languages.
Yeah.
So when I had a conversation with Callum, it was like two magnets coming together, and it was so easy because I didn't have to spend all my time arguing against or defending my beliefs with another person. So it was a great connection, and luckily it seems to be going okay, doesn't it, Callum? Our relationship so far.
Oh, we like each other, right? We're
yeah,
friends,
we kind of like each other. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. So how is the process going at the moment? You've got kind of other contributors, and I'm just going to say right now, because it's really strange, because I'm also going to be a contributor of this magazine as well for the LGBTQIA plus page. But I'm talking about it as if I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one, so I might slip in and out of we and you and us,
don't worry.
Whatever. But just so when people watch this, they don't go, "Oh,
yeah, don't
identity
worry.
crisis." I'm not having an identity crisis. It's okay. So where are you at?
Do you want to go next, Callum? Because I've just had a little chat. So do you want to go next?
Yeah. I'll just say this. I think it's because of the previously mentioned cultural impoverishment, shall we say? I'm putting it nicely. We knew, Jenny and I, as in we knew that there needed to be a mixture of more established advocates with, with people that like perhaps myself and Jenny, that are local kind of agents of change, because one thing we couldn't do is just pluck from thin air. Like there are no non-speaking advocates in Lincolnshire that are really pushing the just any positive sense of identity. Like they don't exist, or they haven't made themselves known, because we've had multiple call outs for who wants to get involved in this and that, and we haven't had the depth of interest from our own area, so we've had to expand. But actually that's what we need, because I think once people can see what's possible, then it will be, this can be a thing then, because I think it's very difficult to step out of a comfort zone, but also, so with my, I have an autistic adult peer support group. I've often said to Jenny, like, there are so many people, like I tell the group itself, but that I believe in every single one of them, but it's also not right for me to say to them, you like this, therefore you this. Like, I don't want anything to be tokenistic, but there is this on my end of things. Like, oh, if only like we could like slowly build people up and empower, so we can all share what we have, because I know what everyone can offer, but it's just putting yourself out there, and I think the process so far has been really transformational for me and for Jenny, because just working with yourself, Katie, with other wonderful advocates that we've in that conversation that we first had, Jenny and I, that we talked about, and we were just like, oh yeah, I know Aucademy, oh yeah, I know emotional divergence. Like, it was like a whoa, and now to have everyone working with us and developing this narrative is just, yeah, it's just tremendous. So I think that was the question. We did expect tangents, so if there was a tangent there,
that's fine. I can't even remember what the question was, mate. So
I think the question was, where are we at the moment?
Oh yeah, lovely.
So
am I right in thinking, Callum, that it went from kind of what was going to be a fairly local kind of initiative with the autistic people in your area, that you were hoping to kind of get people together of kind of all kind of intersections and stuff like that within our autistic community and do something. I think at one point there was even the idea of doing like a hard copy of, like a paper copy. Is that, I'm right in thinking that? So now it's actually, there's quite a few of us from the UK. There's a couple in the States, Australia, I think. A few people. Yeah. So Jenny, please carry on.
Yeah, I think you know, obviously we wanted, because we're both from Lincolnshire, so that's where our lived experience comes from. So, you know, we obviously, that is the focus, but we also appreciate that maybe I've had people say to me, well, you know, you're about 5 or 10 years ahead of your time, right? So, you know, that's not actually, I don't see that as a compliment. That just shows where we are in terms of people's opinions and ideologies and principles and beliefs and mindset. So that's not great. But in order to create an authentic autistic-led magazine in the way that kind of, I suppose, underpins the neurodiversity paradigm and what that means, you have to have people that understand what that is, and also understand the importance of the language and how we use language and how language influences people. Language, to me, you know, language is very important. So we knew that the pathology paradigm and its ideology is very deeply ingrained into society, and you know, we see that in Lincolnshire, but we also know that there are lots of talented, creative autistic people that want to be involved. So we said, right, okay, well, what about then if we, you know, obviously this magazine is going to be relevant to everybody. Okay, it's going to be educational for everyone, and everyone will benefit from reading neurodivergent affirming content and really understanding what that means. But what is neurodivergent affirming content and language? Because self-advocacy is all very well and good, but if you are self-advocating to a person that does not understand what autistic identity is, doesn't understand what autistic culture is, doesn't understand the terminology, then that self-advocacy then fails. Because if you're, say if my son is advocating for himself, so I've given him the tools, I've given him the language, he understands his own neurotype, so he's advocating for what he needs. But that listener, the person who is receiving that information, doesn't listen, doesn't understand, then that's where self-advocacy can fail. So this magazine and all of the content within, we're hoping will be beneficial to everyone, which is, the meaning of neurodiversity, right? It's all of mankind, it's all of us.
Absolutely.
So we know that in order to bring that back here, we need to reach out to the wider community. And yeah, that's our, and you're right. I think the response has been absolutely amazing. When you popped the original post on your Twitter, it went mad, and all of the emails came through and it all blew up. And I think that just reflects on how much people want to share. There was a need there, and a lot of the emails that I received really reflected that need of wanting to share their own individual autistic lived experience, rather than listening to people's views on autism.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So reading those emails was a little bit overwhelming, but also very inspiring and very exciting as well, because there was a need there. People want to get involved. People want to write about autistic lived experience. So the response has been amazing, and I'm feel quite excited, but also a bit terrified. A bit scared.
We are a scary bunch. It's true. Yeah, we are quite horrifying. Yeah. So there's different areas for the magazine. So we know the feel of the magazine, I think, by now,
Okay.
dear watchers and listeners, maybe. But what might be the content?
So I've got a list here. I've been very organised, don't you know?
Oh.
I'm not normally. But I have the list of departments that we're going to be featuring here. So shall I just read them out just to give people a bit of a flavour? So first of all, I just need to say that each department will have a page guide. So a page guide is somebody that is familiar with the neurodiversity paradigm and what that means, and it understands the ideology. And somebody that isn't in charge, because we don't kind of do that here. We don't have hierarchy. We're all in this together as a collective. But maybe somebody that feels confident working alongside contributors. So contributors are people that write articles. In fact, a contributor could be anybody, even if they're just observing what's going on. We don't place value on if people want to write an article or not. They can just observe and be in that moment. So each department has a page guide, and the departments are autistic identity and culture, looking at neuroqueer theory, neuronormativity, and social construction. Creativity, so art, illustration, photography. 3, education and home education. Employment and self-employment. Food recipes, autistic profiles and eating. Gaming, gotta have gaming. Gaming's like massive. LGBTQIA, lifestyle, well-being and mental health, passions and dedicated interests, media, so books, blogs, films, reviews and recommendations. Oh, remind me to talk to you about the podcast party, because I'll forget. Sensory integration, interoception stims and euphoric stims, and sexual health and relationships, Black, Indigenous people of colour, and non-speaking. So yeah, that's the short explanation of the departments that we're going to be featuring. And obviously that's fluid, that is fluid. But that's just an example of the departments that we've got so far.
Yeah, I believe our David Gray Hammond is also doing his own. Is that mental health, I'm assuming, or?
Yeah, so he's we've had to condense some of the departments because we had 17 And we wanted to feature all the departments in the magazine. So we've condensed them. So originally, lifestyle and well-being was going to be one department, and then mental health was going to be another department. So we've just had to condense them. But yes, so David Gray-Hammond is one of the department guides, page guides for mental health. So that's super exciting. And because everybody that has come forward has communicated with me, and there's been a process to that. And when you're talking to someone and you think, I can't believe that I'm actually talking to David Gray-Hammond. Did you get that moment? And then there's Joseph. Joseph is quite happy for me to mention his name, by the way, because he just loves.
I'm quite surprised he's not singing to us today, if I'm honest. So.
Yeah, he's downstairs singing. I can hear him. So I was talking to David, and then Joseph comes in, dressed in a witch's costume, full on gear, because he's into musicals. And he comes in and just sings Defying Gravity to David in about 3 different languages. And some of our communications I've had with people, I thought, well, this is us. This is us. But yeah, David. David was it was a pleasure to speak to, and yeah, he is going to be one of the page guides, department guides of mental health.
And I know we've got a lot of really fantastic people on board already. Is there anything, we've put a call out for moderators for Discord. Is there anything else you want to add about any kind of, not positions, but any kind of, I'm going to use positions because I can't think of any other word, that might need filling?
Do you want to answer that, Callum? Do you want to go next?
I mean, I know we talked about the BIPOC community and the non-speaking community representatives that we are currently in need of. But I think, so I just mentioned those two. I might have missed some, but I know Jenny and I speak.
I think we was massively, which is right, we were, because there's minority groups in minority groups. And we really, really wanted to make sure that, because my lived experience is just my lived experience. I don't represent and talk on behalf of, the whole of the autistic community. I'm just talking from my lived experience. So I wanted to make sure that we are including everybody and giving, that's just really important. And I think the Black, Indigenous and people of colour and the non-speaking community don't get the representation that they need. They don't, and so it's really important that I can't run that page. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to run that page. So we really do need folks to come forward in order for us to be able to represent authentically, because it's all about authenticity. Authenticity is massive. So we're really, really low on, so yeah, that would be definitely. And I think in terms of department guides or page guides, we keep flitting, don't we, Callum, between that page.
It's more you. I say page guides more consistently, if I'm honest. But it can.
I can't make my mind up. I can't choose. So I've also wrote these down. You'll be very impressed with me. I've looked.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
I know. Right. Okay.
And that's in David's book as well?
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah.
Oh my goodness! There it is.
I've wrote on the back of it. Sorry, David.
Oh, David.
What would be the most organised thing for me to do was to go downstairs and probably find a piece of paper, but that's too much hard work. So I've wrote it in David's
book.
It is. Shall I give David a plug?
There it is.
The New Normal Autistic Musings on the Festival of Broken Society by David Gray-Hammond. There you go.
Available on Amazon. There we are, people.
Yeah, available on Amazon. And you can also leave a review on there as well.
Yeah, fabulous.
So the page guide that we're currently looking for is for the education and home education department, sensory integration. I mean, sensory integration is massive, and I do feel that we do have a massive responsibility to make sure that, I suppose, whoever is guiding that department really understands sensory integration in the interoception. So I'm not a specialist in that area. So, you know, I can write articles about my own sensory experiences and differences, and euphoric stims, and how we use singing to regulate. But that's and as a qualified child practitioner, you know, I can speak from that mindset, but I don't feel as if I've got the right to be able to represent that department. So if there's anybody else out there that can do that, I feel that they, you know, that's authentic. Passions and dedicated interests. We've spoken about non-speaking, and I have, you know, it's not I don't think it's anyone's job to say what certain minority groups call themselves, right? But I have researched that the term non-speaking, or people using AAC, is the most respectful way. So, but if there's another term, then please educate me on it as a speaking person. And Black and Indigenous people of colour, the gaming page, the food page, and the creativity, art, photography and illustration page. So we have contributors for all of those departments, but what we haven't got is somebody that is happy to come forward and say, well, I'm happy to guide this this section of the magazine. And it's choice-led, so everything that we do is choice-led, and it's really important that we really create a neurodivergent affirming space, because I think I haven't mentioned employment, and the reason why I'm pulling that into the discussion is that so often employers will talk about inclusivity. We are an inclusive employer. However, a lot of the time, I think just because you're saying you're inclusive, what are you doing then to evidence that for in this an autistic person? And a lot of the time, I feel that it's actually down to the autistic person to change within a work environment to present neurotypical. That's not being inclusive. If you're expecting that person to change how they present, which goes against their own neurotype, then that's not inclusivity, because now that person is spending all of their spoons to present in a way that is not natural for them. And so it's really important that we look at that. And I wanted to make sure that we are creating an authentic neurodivergent affirming space, and make sure that we don't fall into the trap of other organisations that say they're inclusive, but they don't actually know what that means.
Yeah,
and
sure.
So it fails.
So what do the expectations look like for contributors and page leads?
Right. So there isn't really any expectations, first of all, because I don't, at this moment, everything that is happening, people are doing voluntarily, including Callum and I. The long-term goal is that we become a kick, which we could do actually pretty easy, becoming a kick. It's then applying for the funding and making sure that we have people that can write bids for funding, and have a team of people that is just allocated to do that. So our long-term goal is to pay people for their time, pay people for their contributions, because again, going back to employment and self-employment, a lot of autistic and otherwise neurodivergent people don't get the opportunity to get employed, and the environment is counterproductive to them as an autistic person. So it makes it very difficult for them to be employed in certain environments. So, you know, if you are contributing to anything, and that gives, there's value to that, there's value, and it's about valuing one's talent and oneself. And so the long-term goal is that we want to create employment for autistic people. At the moment, there is a Discord server which we have created. So a couple of very talented techie folks have created the Discord server, and that is just one arm of the magazine. Obviously, you know, when we ask the question, when people email me and email Callum, and we ask that question, what is your preferred method of communication? We actually mean that. So we're not offering one way of communicating, because that's not inclusive, because we all have our own preferred methods of communication. And one of those methods, a lot of people said Discord. Well, then I thought, oh, I've not really thought about my preferred method, and I've never been on Discord in my life. Right, how do I get around that? Yes, Callum, yeah.
I was just, I don't know if you were going to progress into another question, so I thought I'd get you slide in there.
Yeah.
But just on that, because you mentioned, Katie, at the start, that it's a massive undertaking, and I think that's the joy, the simultaneous joy and interesting. I was going to say just difficult, but just the diversity of communication is incredible, and a lot of people. Speaking from, again, my peer support group stuff, but just generally, we don't know what autistic or otherwise neurodivergent stuff looks like until we give it a go and really lean to communication preferences. But I think so. We really, that is a massive undertaking in that regard. But it's so rewarding to have these people communicating this way. Like the Discord server, we've got people that might message me through Autistic Links, or people that message Jenny, and trying to bring everyone together. But also have that local footing of, because I can't get to Brighton to find any, wherever it might be, to find that's why technology is so useful. And I know we do have aims of becoming a KIC, a community interest company, which I think we were told, we were informed, and again, I'm not going to mention them by name because I'm not sure if they would like to, but we were told that the process of that can start. But it's just these kinds of things that, like, say the same with, at the minute, we're an online magazine. That's what we're aiming for. But I think there is an aspiration, a joint aspiration, to become a physical magazine as well, potentially. But we'll see. But the pleasure and the connectivity of being online for now really works with connecting with the David Gray Hammonds or the Autistic Living the Dreams. You know, whilst having people that are in my area that might want to send me something, and then I'll put it into the magazine, and we have a copy editor that's doing wonderful things, or people that can meet with Jenny. I know Jenny's spoken at local colleges, for example. I can't do that. I can only do what I can do in my little area, but also the Discord brings us all together. And I think moving forward, I know Jenny hates that term, but I use it quite a lot. Progressing into the future, or just progressing into the future, nothing else happened there. I think it's a it's a mixture of, so the process, because again, what was mentioned is authenticity, which is tremendous, and I think having areas of that process that share and connect. So this, and I say this to bring it back to the podcast party, because Jenny said that she would forget, but we kind of went back and forth from this idea around a podcast party of having people kind of almost gather around virtually around a podcast. So then it provides that learning opportunity and that discussion, that dialogue. People that might not be familiar with certain terms or how to. So it's about that as much as it is. It's about mentorship as much as it is about people that might be more established in the scene, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, there's a real kind of community vibe to things, and about connectivity and love. Can I put love out there?
Please do. Yeah.
I've got oh, it's so funny. We had a was it a page editors meeting the other day online, and I blew a kiss to everyone goodbye, so that was nice, and Jenny told everyone that she loved them. So I think love, I think it
love is all around.
We've reached that stage already, apparently.
And it was just so important. I think, Callum, we often have our late night rambles, and it was really important for us that connectivity for the people that need that takes place. That takes place. So this space and time for people to connect with each other first, because I know from my own lived experiences, it's not so much about being sociable, it's about connecting to people. And once you feel or have a connection with somebody, then for me, I just feel I feel safe, and I feel that I can be my authentic self. It helps with my processing, it helps with my creativity. So, we're under no illusion that we can't expect a load of neurodivergent folks to rock up and then start producing content, because, so it was really important that we have a real good block of time just to get to know each other on the Discord, and go back to what we expect from contributors. I mean, really, even if people are sitting on the server and observing what's going on, for some people, that's enough. For some people, following the link, and you can only get onto the server by means of a link that is sent through me or Callum to make sure that people have gone through the process and it's safe and everyone on there should be on there. I can't remember what I was going to say now. You see? What even was I saying? Oh dear. I've done well. That's the first.
You were saying about people coming onto the Discord, and even if they just sat there and absorbed information.
Yes, that's it. And just to be there in that space for some is a massive big deal. For some people they already know what they want to contribute, because we do send out quite a lot of information to people. So would you like me to talk you through that little process?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So historically, people.
Sorry, Jenny, just before you get started, there's a crackle on your mic that I don't know if you can do anything about.
Okay, sorry.
It's only very slight, but you might not. But...
Is that better?
Keep talking and I'll tell you.
Okay. Is that better? 1, 2, 1, 2.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, go for it. That's it. Excellent.
Okay. What was I saying? Yeah, so historically, people have emailed me or Callum, and then first of all, the first thing we ask is, what are your pronouns and how do you identify? That's the first, so we can respect that moving forward. No, I'm not going to use the term moving forward. Progressing into the future. So they are then sent a welcome letter, which kind of explains our magazine's ethos and core values, and really gives them an understanding of neurodivergent affirming language and why we feel that a magazine like this would be useful for our community and everybody else. Then if they reply back and go, yes, we are aligned, yes, we agree with your core values, then I offer them a Zoom, camera on or off, caps on or off. Some people will go yes straight away. Some people, no, that's not my vibe. No, thank you very much. So, okay, let's think about other forms of communication then. Then if they decide they want to go on to the next stage, we then send them a list of all the departments and a little bit more information about the magazine. Then they might come back and go, right, okay, so I'm really super keen on writing about whatever it is, and probably they will look at those departments and go, well, I want to write that, I want to contribute towards that department. Or it might be that, well, I want to contribute toward that department, and that department. So really, it's not for us to say, it's for them to read the information and for folks to say, do you know what, actually, I'm quite happy to dip in and out. I don't really want to have a huge role. I just want to dip in and out. And so that's of equal value.
Yeah.
So really, in answer to your question, it's not on us to tell people what to do, because we're not kind of that vibe. It's for people to say what it is that they would like to contribute to themselves. So again, it's coming from a place of choice. And then if for the folks that would like to communicate on the server, the invitation will be sent out and they'll come on, and then and then they're in the server. And you're on the server yourself.
I am
so
there.
You know what the server looks like.
Yes, it might even be helpful for me to just say how easy I found the whole process and like stress-free I found the whole process. So I knew Callum before this. I didn't know Jenny before this because you've only been celebrating the neurodiversity paradigm probably. So that's your page. So probably, is that a year, 2 years now?
Yeah, it's about maybe a year and a half, maybe top.
So we'd vaguely kind of perhaps seen each other online, but not to speak to. But when I think it was on Twitter, I saw it. I don't know where it was, but I thought, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a bit of me magazine. So I believe I messaged you. I might have emailed you, and it was just really easygoing. There wasn't. I didn't feel like I was doing homework. I didn't feel like, everything was really clear. Everything was really structured. And then coming on to Discord, because like you, Jenny, like I had a Discord account from 9 million years ago that I then had to work out what the password was for. So good luck with that. So, and then I came on Discord and thought, oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm doing. But the people who are moderating the Discord are really good. And everyone there is just, they get it. It's nice. Like if you fluff up, if you blow a kiss to everyone at the end of the meeting, like it's not, a bunch of neurotypical people going, God, that was really weird. That was really creepy. That was super like, unprofessional or whatever. Like, so you can turn up and engage in the way that you want to. We have just as I think it's an editorial team, or it might be a page.
Both, we've got both.
Yeah, so I'm possibly both. I don't really know who I am anymore, but definitely a page lead anyway. So we have those meetings. I think we've had 2 or 3 now.
Yeah, once a month, and we just that saying meetings about meetings. We kind of want to avoid having meetings about meetings. We have a meeting about once a month, and that is just to kind of process all the discussions that are going on within each of the departments, and bring all of that discussion together to help plan.
Yeah, but again, people. I know that I keep saying expectation, but there's not an expectation on me as a contributor to the magazine to be at everything and to open every link and to read every bit of information on Discord. And there's something very nice about that. There's something very freeing about that, like you were saying, dipping in and out. So I just wanted to tell people from a contributor,
Thank you.
that it's very free and easy. It's, you know, it's nice. It's a nice community there. There's some brilliant folks on there already. We've all got the same kind of values and stuff, which is lovely.
And I think it needs to be that way because, you know, at the end of the day, until we get funding, we are doing this in our own time. And there are obvious bigger reasons for why we are motivated to do that. But at the same time, you know, I am, you know, obviously, you know, autistic burnout is very real, and nobody wants to be participating in anything that's blooming awful when you're feeling blooming awful. So I think it's really important that we are what we say we are, in that it's a really chilled vibe. And you know what? If you don't want to read a link, if you don't want to participate and you need to step out for however many days you need, you know what? Thank you for telling us, because you have to advocate for your own self. You have to say, excuse me, I'm struggling. I know you won't need to go into a 5-minute explanation of why to evidence why. You don't need to do that. So you need to stop feeling guilty about doing that and just look after yourself. So otherwise it will fail. It will fail. You know, so we need to make sure that remains a core part of our magazine, because at the end of the day, that is what a neurodivergent affirming space really looks and feels like.
Absolutely. So have you got a roundabout date for when the first issue might be out?
Do you want to go next, Callum? Because I don't want to feel like I'm talking too much. No?
Yeah.
Okay, Callum's pretty chilled. So the release, the guide, it's a guide. It's not a deadline, because we don't use silly words like deadlines and stuff. There's a guide of June, because not just because of, but it ties in very nicely with Autistic Pride. So the guide is June, so the launch date is June. However, if we don't make June, it does not matter. The magazine is going to be quarterly, so every 3 months. But again, if we don't make June, it doesn't matter. You know, if we don't make September, it's not a big deal. For me, the most important thing is that people are feeling valued, and people are enjoying being part of the actual process. That for me and Callum is the most important thing. So, you know, we're going to be run slightly differently to what people are probably used to. And actually that's worth writing about, because I think, you know, within the neurotypical world, you know, I kind of think we are so used to working towards neurotypical expectations within a working environment, to the detriment of our own mental health. So when all of a sudden you're in an actual authentic neurodivergent environment, that can sometimes be quite tricky to actually transition into, you know, because it's like, wow, what is this? I'm not quite used to this. You know, so that could even be worth writing about, actually. So, and that is what we are creating. I'm just going to plug my laptop in, because it's telling me that it's going to switch off in a minute. So excuse me.
Okay. So we're thinking June. We're hoping June. We'll see what's happening in June.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in June.
Yeah, lovely. I like that. I mean, although it is free and easy, I don't want to put off folks who perhaps like a bit more structure.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which might be someone like me. I'm a bit more of a structured person. But I think it just kind of slips quite nicely into my. I mean, not only is it a brilliant idea, anyways, but the the expectations, no expectations, actually fits in really, really nicely. I know a lot of us are exceedingly busy people, so I think that kind of but there is a structure and there is kind of
so
very good communication and stuff. I don't want people just thinking we're sitting on Discord having a jolly good old
oh
time. And
yeah,
there's a bit more to it than that, but it is chill, you know.
Yeah, there is a lot of I'm going to say from my own perspective, because my brain's a bit chaotic, there's a lot of chaos going on behind the scenes in terms of just networking and lots of other things that I have to put in place, or we need to put in place to provide that structure. And with regard to the structure and leaning into other people's neurodivergencies, right? Because some people need that structure and they like to be given instructions. They need that. There is a project plan that Callum and I have developed, which is just about done because things have happened so quickly. We started developing the project plan, but a lot's changed, so we've had to go over it, and that is just about ready to go. So we are going to post and provide a project plan with a clear guide of what the process is going to look like from start to finish. So start to print. I'll have all the details about the monthly meetings and the word count, for example, how many articles per department, so contributors can visually see what that process could potentially look like for them if they appreciate that structure. So it's just a guide.
It's a flexible structure.
Yes.
I like that. Yeah, okay, I'm into that. If you need the structure, have the structure. If you don't need the structure, throw the structure in the bin.
Yeah.
Excellent.
we don't care. Throw it away. We're not bothered.
I write when I like, about what I like.
Yeah. Exactly. In fact, so as you can see, so I quite like to talk, and when Callum and I exchange voice messenger, sometimes that'll be like 10 minutes long of just ramble, and then Callum will answer, and then he'll go, and we'll go, look, we just need to stop apologising for the ramble. We ramble, let's just own it.
That's it.
Apologise.
Yeah, I think the thing with apologising for things is you either need to stop doing the thing you're apologising for, or just embrace it.
Exactly.
And it's not the space for us to have to go, oh, I'm really sorry, I'm doing this, and
that's learned behaviour, isn't it? That's learned behaviour through compliance and things, and I'm working. Me and Joseph are working our way through that in the way that we allow others to talk about us, and the way that he talks to others about himself, and having autonomy over that language. Because autonomy is really, really important. So
is it fair to say that Autistic Revolution is also definitely community building, definitely potentially employment building, but also a personal journey for both of you?
Oh, absolutely massive for me. It's really enabled me in terms of my own sense of self. Connecting with the neurodivergent community in general has been a massive part of that, because Lincolnshire's quite small, and where I live in particular, which is northeast Lincolnshire, is even smaller. So in order for me to engulf or immerse myself with other neurodivergent people has just been a really therapeutic exercise for me. And obviously meeting Callum has been probably one of my highlights of last year. So yeah, don't need to put any pressure on that, but that's personally. So it's just been a really, don't get me wrong, I mean there's elements of it that it's stressful. It is stressful, and I have to recognize when I reach my burnout, and you have to practice doing that. That just doesn't happen. You know, you have to practice recognizing that, and kind of gifting yourself permission to step back and going, actually, I've just done too much this week. I need to give my brain a break. I need to go and sleep for the day, or just, you know, take myself away from that. So even though it's been a euphoric, you know, experience, and, you know, when you are working alongside some amazing neurodivergent people, but also their neurodivergence is not the same as mine, and so therefore they need different types of communication, and that is tricky, and it's hard, it's tough. You know, I'm not gonna, it's tough, but I'm learning more about myself. And you know, we've said, you know what, I'm gonna make mistakes. I've not done this before. You know, I'm gonna make mistakes, but you know what? It's okay, because you make mistakes. You'll make mistakes, but it's okay to make mistakes. It's fine. We're not saying that, you know, we're not saying that we know what we're doing and we can't be advised and this is going to be amazing, because we know it's going to be complicated. It's going to be complicated, but it's also going to be amazing. So yeah. I can't even remember. Was that a question? Did that answer?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and you did. And I'm going to ask Callum now. About, so it kind of feels like it's also a kind of personal journey, Autistic Revolution, for you, Callum.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like this is part of what my life's been leading up to, as weird as that may sound, but it from where I started in life to so it's this journey that we're currently on with Autistic Revolution is one of two full circle moments in my life. The first one was having the peer support group, because obviously from being guided myself through life, you know, I've talked about this a lot, but I'll just touch on it. So my parents split when I was young. Just fair enough. They're on different journeys. That's all cool. But that's all done with. That's all fine. That's all gravy, as they say, which makes no sense. Anyway, so to go through just a personal journey to now connecting with others that are very similar to me. Some are just completely different, because, you know, being, for example, being late diagnosed is a different experience to being early diagnosed, and like getting, like, you have a different familiarity with, and it all depends on how you're diagnosed, how you think about. There's so much within the people that I personally connect with within their journeys, some of which I relate to, some of which I don't. But if I don't, I'm like, okay, well, maybe we can connect here, and they teach me something every day. Like the days that we have physical meetups is like the highlight. So that is incredible for me, and to have it almost feels like the Autistic Revolution's just joined up from that, because, and again with the writing journey that I've gone on, which really that's been the theme of my life. You know, poetry was my way of just escaping the situation and communicating. So to go from that to then writing in the paper, which again was on a whim, and to people to lift me up and say, okay, give it a shot, to now this, it's like it's all like blended together, and yeah, it's very powerful.
Perfect. That is such a gorgeous way to leave that. Unless you want to add anything, I've got some other little bits that we do for Aucademy, like questions anyways, but unless anyone wants to add anything about Autistic Revolution at all.
I think that's enough for now.
Okay. Maybe what we could do, when we've got a bit more of an idea of a bit more of a set final date for when the first issue is coming out, which I believe is going to be around identity.
Yeah, identity and neurodivergent affirming language. That will be the theme of the first issue.
So when that is clearer in our minds, when that's happening, I think you'd be more than welcome, obviously, both of you to come on, or any of the page leads or whoever to come on and have a chat about that again. Get some hype going for the magazine. That'd be fantastic on here. I was going to say something else as well. No, I've lost it. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm super excited about it because I get to talk about queer things, and that's my favourite. Yay!
Yeah, and it's about looking at words that people historically have believed that are offensive words that are not offensive at all. When you have the understanding and are educated about what that actually means for those people that are using that terminology.
Yeah, I tell you what, can we just touch? I know I was just trying to round off, and now I'm back in. If we could just touch on accessibility, that would be really, really amazing, actually, because I know that the person who's doing all the software-y stuff. Sorry, I have no idea about computers. Software-y stuff.
Yeah, that'll do.
Is he's fantastic, and he was saying the other day that there will be a version that you can download, so it'd be a PDF, so that screen readers, so people use screen readers, including myself, will be able to read it. Is there anything that people might want to know about accessibility?
Yes, I'm so pleased that you've asked that question, because that was the one question that I wanted to talk about that I haven't wrote down. So thank you. So again, accessibility is really, really important because it needs to be. Of course, it needs to be. So the person that you mentioned, I can mention his name because he has given me permission to be able to mention his name. So his name is Lewis Phoenix, and we connected organically, actually, by chance. And he is from my hometown, and he works at a local college of mine around the corner that I did some presentations and workshops with. And he's an absolutely amazing, he's a qualified graphic designer. He's got loads and loads of qualifications, and he's a lecturer, and he's many, many things. So it's been great to connect with him. So we had a little play with the software. So he came to my house, which was great. And it's funny because two kind of autistic people playing over software. I think we did about 4 hours of talking and about 30 minutes of techie stuff.
That's a pretty good ratio. I'll take that. That's good.
Yeah. So he's helping me kind of navigate, because I'm not an IT person at all, as Callum knows. I'm really, really petrifies me. But he really knows what he's doing, and I spoke to him about, right, okay, this magazine needs to be accessible. So yes, there will be audio. Also, illustrations, I think, are going to be a massive part of the whole process, to help with processing. So the idea that we've talked about is that between each article, there will be an illustration to provide brain breaks. I've called them rest pages, but that's just my terminology that I've used, rest pages. And also illustrations can be as equally powerful as text. And there are some amazing illustrators out there. So I thought, okay, so for the people that don't want to read the text, for whatever reason, we need to provide an alternative then. So let's provide an illustration. So there'll be an illustration in between each article, and also thinking about how the magazine looks visually. So I really actually would like we would really like some feedback on what is accessible and can we do anything else that we haven't thought of, because I'm coming from my own lived experience, but there's lots of other lived experiences out there that would say, well, I would need this and I need that. So I think we would like feedback on what does an accessible magazine look like, apart from the rest pages, the illustrations, the audio, and how the article will look visually. We need to make sure that we are accessible. We're not placed any barriers.
I feel like large print would be a large print version, or something within the software to make things large print would be really, really brilliant. But that's possibly a conversation for another time. But I just wanted to bring up accessibility, just because obviously that's massively important.
Yeah, these are ongoing conversations that we're having.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think I'll just I'll finish up, if I may, with our usual questions, which is what is your current favourite, or it could be new, STEM that you're into?
So mine is Latin American style moving.
Okay.
So I used to be a dancer, and I do honestly believe now that was one of the reasons that prevented my neurodivergence from presenting, because I danced from the ages of 4 to about 18, and I went to a dance school, and it was every night after school. It was all the way through the summer holidays. We did dance festivals. It was my absolute life, and it helped me. I realise now that those movements and the way that I used my body were massive stims. became a stim for me. I didn't realise that at the time, and I just feel so much joy when I move my body in a certain way, and so to seek that joy, I meet that need through dance, and at the moment it's Latin American style dancing, because it's lots of head movements and lots of body movements and things. And actually, when I left dancing, which is a whole other story, I took a very quick dive in terms of my mental health, because I didn't have the routine that I had through all those years. I didn't have the constant movement, big growth movement, the stretching, all of that. I didn't have that. And so, I took a massive dive when I stopped doing that in terms of my mental health, and made some not very sensible choices. Now I can appreciate that and reflect what that was.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I didn't know. But in answer to your question, American Latin dance is my current STEM.
Do you ever dance with Joseph? This is what I need to know.
All the time. Yes. In our house, music, dancing, singing plays a huge part of how we all exist alongside each other. To the annoyance of my 18-year-old boy.
Who does not want to sing and dance and
no,
bless. And Callum, what is your new favourite STEM?
Well, I had a very simple answer, but quickly on the subject of music and dance, that's also something that has been a theme throughout my life. But that's also probably another story. But and I'm just quickly, if I may, not promote, because I'm not gonna, but I'm working with a dance company in February, and I'm gonna be performing with them, and just that's been a transformational process, because they're celebrating their anniversary of 15 years of being a company. But what makes it for me is they're quite young people in comparison to me. I know young is like young in comparison to who, but just bring it back quickly to inclusivity. They've involved me in the process of because the poem will be around being autistic essentially, and with dance and this big event. Not just me, they've got some other performances with other people, but just on the subject of dance, it's going to be that's another full circle moment for me to bring dance back into my life, but not scared to participate. Like, this is me at the centre with a story to tell, and they've really kind of empowered that. But yeah, my current stim is I've got to mention this, which I've been playing with the whole time. I mean, I've got always on my arm, but which actually, Katie, I know you're a fan of wrestling, so it says it's, I don't know if you can read them, but they're
Monster Among Monsters. Is that what you got?
Monster Among Men. It's the old.
Oh,
one.
okay. Get these hands.
And then
Bit
also
Braun Strowman. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm massive wrestling fan as well. But yeah, it's got to be this kind of pinging this and putting this in my mouth, which I've been doing throughout. So yeah.
What is that? Some kind of elasticated bracelet or something? Is it?
Yeah, it's a black elasticated band.
Something.
This is funny because for my group, I did I called it an Aucademy calendar. So because I don't really celebrate Christmas, but I did an Aucademy calendar, and people could pick for each day, because we'd meet weekly. We meet weekly, so that week's worth of days, people could open something, and it was just like a gift, and like a card, but not a Christmas card. It's like a positivity card, or like they might say communication is a spectrum for them. Like, take it home, and there was some left over. But this is one of them that someone re-gifted me, because they're like, I'm not sure I can really use this. Do you want it? Can I give it back to you?
Yes.
And look, I've been playing it the whole time. So yeah, works out.
Well re-gifted. I like that. It's good. And come on, what's our last question? Here we go. What is your favourite form of potato?
You go, Callum.
I mean, being in Lincolnshire, the home of potatoes,
Yeah.
this couldn't be better. I have been waiting my whole life to have these kinds of questions put to me. I will say that. So I have to really think about it. But it's not fair to choose one, really. But I mean, you can't go wrong with I'm gonna go traditional, but I'm gonna go for mash, because it takes all that goodness and you put some butter in there if you like. Doesn't need it. The humble potato doesn't need the butter, but you can spice it up a bit with pepper, and yeah, potatoes are awesome.
Yeah, potatoes are awesome.
Oh,
Go on then, Jenny.
Oh, it's got to be the roast. It's got to be the roast potato, hasn't it?
Oh yes.
And I am known for my roast potatoes, don't you know? And shall I give you a brief description of how I make the most perfect roast potato?
Absolutely, yes, please.
Now I'm not going to give you a short answer. So what you have to do is, obviously, you peel the potato, right? You chop the potato, but in big chunks, guys. You got to do it in big chunks. I'm going to replace that, guys, with folks. Right, so big chunks, okay. Then you're going to rinse the potatoes. You're going to give them a big wash, okay. Get all the starchiness out of them. Then you're going to part boil them, okay. Then not so they're falling apart, just so they can tolerate a bit of bashing against the pan, okay. And then you're going to get some salt crystals, okay. You're going to put some salt in there. Then you're going to get some pepper. Then you're going to get some flour. Get yourself some flour, put a little bit of flour all over the potatoes. Then you're going to give them a really big bash, okay, in the pan. And that's why, if you chop them up too small at this point, they'll just fall apart. So that's why you've got to go large with the chopping, okay?
Yep.
So bash them apart, so all the edges like super fluffy. Then in the meantime, once you've been doing that, the fat is in the oven and it is super, 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 super hot. Super hot. Whack them in. Leave them in there for about 260, so hot.
Mm-hmm.
Check them halfway through, bring them out, perfect roast.
How long are you
potatoes.
doing your potatoes for, Jenny?
I'm doing the potatoes in the oven. I want to say for about 25 minutes, but you've got to keep an eye on them because it's hot. So you need to be going in there, maybe turn them over a little bit. And oh, nice bit of gravy. Perfect.
It's nice. The flour I've not heard before. Also, peeps, be careful with hot oil.
Oh, yes. Be very careful with hot
I'm
oil.
not very good with that kind of thing, but thankfully Jay is, my husband is.
Be very careful with the hot oil. It burns.
That's it. Right. So on that wise bit of that sparkle of wisdom there, we've been talking to Calabrazzo. We've been talking to Jenny Loughran. I've been Katie Monday, and we've been talking about Autistic Revolution, the 100% autistic-led magazine, which we're hoping will come out in June.
Yes.
And now we're just going to stand here and wave until Ben does the music. Dun, dun, dun.
Do my little. Wow.